Alright, welcome everybody. Another episode of Curious Synergies. We actually have quite a few synergies here to show you. First off, this is a strength stacker using Replica Alberon's Warpath. 1 to 80 chaos damage per 80 strength. Now, the synergy here is that normally, because of the huge range 1 to 80, you end up having a range on your skill 178 to 13,951 damage. So generally, you're going to be mapping or bossing, and you're going to hit really low, really high damage. It's going to be really uneven, inconsistent damage. You can mitigate that slightly, or rather substantially, by Dance with Death, a keystone found on Brutal Restraint Timeless Jewel. So you can't use helmets, which is an obvious downside, which means we won't be able to use Crown of Eyes Circlet that allows us to apply our spell damage to our attack damage at 150% of its value. In exchange for that, we actually have Battle Mage's Cry to do the same thing. We don't have to worry about the helmet. And our critical strike chance is lucky, so as you can see here, we have around about 72 to 74% critical strike chance without power charges that we can get from the implicit on a corrupted Dune Cubiari, and also without the fact that it is lucky. So 74% critical strike chance, lucky. Lucky is obviously gonna, if you don't know what lucky means, it's gonna roll twice. Every hit will roll twice to see whether or not it is a critical strike, and it will take the higher value. So if, say, you hit and the first dice roll going to be not a crit, roll again. If it's a crit this time, then your actual hit will be a critical strike. And your damage with critical strikes is also lucky. So if you roll a 174 and then you roll a 13,951, you're gonna hit for the 13,951 instead of the 174. Obviously, you'd have to deal with the downside. The enemy's damage with critical strikes against you is lucky. To mitigate that, we've got a high block chance. We're sitting at about 60% block chance here. Fair amount, actually. Yeah, to be fair, there's not much in terms of armor and evasion, but we do have a Stibnite Flask going off on its own, and that will give us blind, so that helps out to lower our chances of taking damage. And another synergy here, because we're stacking chaos damage, our shield doesn't actually matter, thanks to Shield Crush only adding physical damage based on armor evasion. Like, we just need a high energy shield. The armor evasion on the shield doesn't contribute to our damage. So we can go with Divergent Shield Crush and get 20 to 23% critical strike multiplier per 100 energy shield on the shield, and you can get a high ES shield, at least 400, but probably 300 will do, and you can get, with this, easily hit 70% critical strike chance with over 550% critical strike multiplier, and the damage is coming from the boots. So you get all the crit you need from the shield, all the damage you need from the boots, and then even more critical strike multiplier from the Divergent Shield Crush gem. And that ultimately gives us the potential to, or not potential, we do need to truly use the Seething Fury gem, or jewel, because that gives us critical strike scaling from our energy shield. So another synergy that's pretty clear, considering we're using shields, normally with a strength stacking build using all this chaos damage, you'd want to use something like a Paradoxica to double the amount of chaos damage you're dealing, just double the damage you're dealing. But since we're attacking with the shield, we don't need that. We essentially use a stat stick. Dune Cubiari is that stat stick, because we have over 1600 strength, giving us about 200% increased damage, because it's in the main hand, giving us a bunch of strength, which obviously nice. Strength is nice. We're strength stacking. And we have Battle Mage's Cry to turn all the strength we're stacking. I guess I skipped a step there, because strength stacking on its own is already super synergistic, because strength gives you life and also 1% melee damage per 5 strength. Thanks to Iron Fortress, we changed that 1 per 5 to 3 per 10. It's about a 50% increase, and that 10% that melee damage is gonna be also applied to spells thanks to Iron Will, and then come back around with Battle Mage's Cry to also support attacks again at up to 150% of its value, which generally will be pretty close to, if not at, on bosses. We do grab just a slight bit here. We do want Call to Arms to make sure Battle Mage's Cry is up whenever we want on bosses without stopping our actual movement attacks and stuff. Duration and cooldown is pretty much what we need here. That gets us to a 7.14 second cooldown and a 7.67 second duration. So we can keep the buff up all the time if we need to. And the last rather significant synergy here is that when we're generally strength stacking, we end up with lots of uniques that don't provide any resistances. We've got Iron Fortress, no resistance. Repentance Gloves, no resistance. Replica Alberon has Chaos Resist but no Elemental Resistance. I'm using a Corrupted Death Rush which has Chaos Resist but no Elemental Resistance. Using a Corrupted Ring for the Implicit and a bunch of Strength and Chaos Resist but no Elemental Resistance. The Amulet we get a lot of Strength from, again no resistance. I'm using the Tactician Belt, so we do get all elemental resistance for having at least 200 strength and critical strike chance for at least having 200 intelligence. We have both of. Weapon, damage, shield. Yeah, we have a little bit of lightning resist on here. Is nice, but unnecessary because the synergy here is we're a Pathfinder. With Pathfinder in this update, we can keep up our resistance flasks 100% of the time. So we're actually sit at 94, 86, 115, and 74% Chaos Resist, along with maintaining 20% less of each elemental damage taken. That also allows us to keep up Stibnite Flask for blinding nearby enemies. So with Pathfinder, Ascendancy, and Flask taking care of resistances, we don't need to worry about it on our gear so much, which allows us to actually gear more towards Chaos Resistance. Alright, so we're just gonna run a Zeri fight. It's not the hardest content, obviously it's not uber, but it's still pretty decent. So we've got for a clearing setup, Obliteration, and we use the 15% of Fizz is extra chaos, is synergistic with the fact that Shield Crush already comes with base physical damage. Normally we wouldn't get that, we don't get that on a single target because we have a different setup for single target. Replica Alberon's removes the ability to deal non-chaos damage. So the physical damage is entirely lost, except for the 15% that is converted and added on. For single target, we don't use that, we use Dune Kubiari, which will be more damage overall for single target. But for clear, the explosion's very nice, like this. Explosion will proceed to not happen. There we go. Some explosions. Anyway, we'll just skip around to the bosses. So right here we would switch to Dune Kubiari with our higher ES shield, put down Wither Totems, and then cast Battle Mage's Cry, and then just go to work on them. Don't really care too much about Rage. It's nice when it's up, but when it's not too big of a loss. As you can see there, I did lose Battle Mage's Cry and also one of the hits on the last one, on the first Vault construct there, one of the hits did not hit a critical strike, so the damage was also not lucky, which ultimately meant that I was dealing significantly less damage there. So there is a little bit of a low chance, but ultimately the Dance with Death brings up the damage consistency much higher than it would otherwise be. Let me go ahead and move to the next bosses. Over, drop totems, jump in. And short work of them. And then Ziri herself. Drop a portal here. Switch over. Totems. Warcry. And she already faced. Okay. Well, we switched to our clear setup and then just, you know, shield crash everywhere. Shield crush, excuse me. Can tank most of everything she's gonna deal. Look for the spear. Don't see the spear. Oh, there it is. Spear over here. Warcry. Since there's 4 technically unique monsters around here, we get maximal effect. But she phased again, no problem. Just switch over. Guess I killed her too many times today, now she's all scared and quick to phase. And that's a Ziri. So thank you everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, comment if you liked it. Comment anything you want. Remember to follow on twitch.tv/Crutality. Instagram is Crutality_gaming. And if you'd like anything about Synergies or want to show off your own Synergies, go ahead and pop down in the comments. I'd love to see what everybody else in the community found that's synergistic. Thank you everybody, and catch y'all later.